evolutionist philosophy does not hesitate to extend to the things of life the same methods of explanation which have succeeded in the case of unorganized matter. It begins by showing us in the intellect a local effect of evolution, a flame, perhaps accidental, which lights up the coming and going of living beings in the narrow passage open to their action. And lo, forgetting what it has just told us, it makes of this lantern glimmering in a tunnel a sun which can illuminate the world. Boldly it proceeds, with the powers of conceptual thought alone, to the ideal reconstruction of all things, even of life. True, it hurtles in its course against such formidable difficulties, it sees its logic end in such strange contradictions that it very speedily renounces its first ambition. It is no longer reality itself, it says, that it will reconstruct, but only an imitation of the real, or rather a symbolical image. The essence of things escapes us, and will escape us always. We move among relations. The absolute is not in our province. We are brought to a stand before the unknowable. But for the human intellect, after too much pride, this is really an excess of humility. If the intellectual form of the living being has been gradually modelled on the reciprocal actions and reactions of certain bodies and their material environment, how should it not reveal to us something of the very essence of which these bodies are made? Action cannot move in the unreal. A mind born to speculate or to dream, I admit, might remain outside reality, might deform or transform the real, perhaps even create it, as we create the figures of men and animals that our imagination cuts out of the passing cloud. But an intellect bent upon the act to be performed and the reaction to follow, feeling its object so as to get its mobile impression at every instant, is an intellect that touches something of the absolute. Would the idea ever have occurred to us to doubt this absolute value of our knowledge if philosophy had not shown us what contradictions our speculation meets, what deadlocks it ends in? But these difficulties and contradictions all arise from trying to apply the usual forms of our thought to objects with which our industry has nothing to do, and for which, therefore, our moulds are not made. Intellectual knowledge, insofar as it relates to a certain aspect of inert matter, ought, on the contrary, to give us a faithful imprint of it, having been stereotyped on this particular object. It becomes relative only if it claims, such as it is, to present to us life, that is to say, the maker of the stereotype plate. Must we then give up fathoming the depths of life? Must we keep to that mechanistic idea of it which the understanding will always give us? An idea necessarily artificial and symbolical, since it makes the total activity of life shrink to the form of a certain human activity, which is only a partial and local manifestation of life, a result or byproduct of the vital process. We should have to do so, indeed, if life had employed all the psychical potentialities it possesses in producing pure understandings, that is to say, in making geometricians. But the line of evolution that ends in man is not the only one. On other paths, divergent from it, other forms of consciousness have been developed, which have not been able to free themselves from external constraints or to regain control over themselves as the human intellect has done, but which nonetheless also express something that is immanent and essential in the evolutionary movement. Suppose these other forms of consciousness brought together and amalgamated with intellect, would not the result be a consciousness as wide as life? And such a consciousness, turning around suddenly against the push of life which it feels behind, would have a vision of life complete, would it not, even though the vision were fleeting? It will be said that even so we do not transcend our intellect, for it is still with our intellect and through our intellect that we see the other